Alrighty, this is the video for the final. It is a bit of a Christmassy themed video level, more ice themed honestly, just a lot of wintry elements. I will go through the list that was sent in the email for all the requirements in a second. First, I just want to play through the game a little bit, and then we will kind of just go step by step, just to show that everything is in this that needs to be in this. There's a lot of things I can kind of just go quickly through here without going into all of them. Normal blueprints, obviously some more stuff added to them. UI full, well, actually not UI, unique blueprints, which has the UI folder also in it, has just like kind of all these different items and characters, a couple components, a level instance. Once again, we'll go more step by step with a lot of these later, kind of just different things that summon projectiles and whatnot. UI has a lot of stuff because I used a lot of different photos, because I created 3 different screens. So in total, there are 4 different levels in this game, technically, only one of them being the playable main level. There's the opening main menu map, there's the lost map, and the win map. All of which we will see as I will keep playing the game, honestly, until I get through all of them. Because obviously we'll get to see the main menu map right away. Once it all loads, we're using the whole play new window, so it runs on its own process, which is one of the requirements, and I'll loop back to that again in a second just to re-emphasize it, but what I was scrolling through. It's probably farther down then. It takes a second to load, otherwise, there we go. I will maximize this. Bam, bop, beep. So yeah, if I scroll down, standalone build is created. Video shows the build successfully played outside of the editor. This is technically outside of the editor as it's playing on its own speed. Quit button, play button. I'm not going to press the quit button right now. It's the same. It's literally the same code across all things that will have that. Play. Bam, bam, bam. Let it load. Boom. You're in here. A little bit of UI, really basic health bar. You can see that you have something that levels up over here. It is your ball that you shoot. It is currently a strength level 1. When it levels up, it will go further. It will last long. Well, I guess last longer, go further, same thing. And it will actually also do more damage. You can also see there's these 3 little pibs down there. When you destroy a wall, you gain an experience point. We can quickly get ourselves to level 2. Additionally, the ball gets a bit bigger. It's really hard to tell, but it does scale slightly. There are projectile shooters on either side. Just kind of trying to shoot you with these. They do a bit of random damage, but overall, they're pretty accurate. And as you can kind of see there's a bit of a physics thing that happens. So whenever you get hit, you kind of fall over, and then you reset yourself. Try to get through at least a little bit without dying. When you touch the stairs, you do actually heal back up to full HP. Let me take some damage right now just to show something. Though it does not heal you again for about 20 seconds. It has a 20-second lag timer on it. Additionally, there's a death plane down here, because this is really the only area you can fall. All these fences are pretty dang tight. There's about 200 of them across the whole map through both sections. When you touch the death plane, though, which is right around where the mountain area is, you get brought to this screen. You can restart, you can quit, restart. You do get to keep all of the levels that you have gained when you restart. So that is the main benefit. And for now, it's kind of let these things kill me, or at least I'll try. I should probably just go to the starting point. I should also say that their spawn is a little bit random too, just more like the time that they come out, as well as obviously the damage as mentioned before. Once again, with all of this, we'll go step by step again, once I'm kind of just going through after we've done playing a little bit. Bop. Restart. But yes, so for all the main menus, kind of the restart map, the win map, and even just the main menu, they are all basically running off the same code. I don't think there's really any difference between them. Oh, there is. Only the win screen has any unique code to it compared to the other two, and that is that it'll reset the game instance, so it'll reset your level when you beat the boss, which is over here. He has a 1% chance to summon those walls. I was about to mention that, and he just did it right away. So that works. The coding on this was a bit interesting to get him to die and then open the other map, because he's supposed to open just the win map, but it would originally destroy you, so I had to create a custom event to where you can live then. I should probably focus on beating him. Luckily, our spheres can destroy his icicles. He has a different type of icicles, kind of running on the same code, but just a bit different random set. You have the option to play again. You have the option to quit. I guess just to prove that your level does reset. Boom, strength back to 1, experience back to 0. Whenever you have 3 experience points, it goes back to 0 as well, but it also levels you up. And then I might as well show that the quit button works. Once again, same across all things. I can show them again at a later time, but there's not really a point. They all bring you back here. Alright, so now that we are done with that, we can kind of just, I'm just going to open a level so I can kind of start going through things. And since most things are on the main level, the other ones all just kind of have a level starter in them, but they're a blank space with different names you can kind of see down here. Level restarter, level winner, for the various things. So first thing on this, custom map. Pretty custom map. Kind of just press F down here. That's the def plane. It is hidden in game. A lot of these things are hidden in game, honestly. Because there are these different rectangles that you'll see that are attached to the projectile shooters. And they kind of just give me a general good idea of where things are going. There's a couple of the volume boxes that show where they can move. Something you may have noticed during the final boss fight. The boss does not have any movement speed. He does, however, rotate towards you, and that was the entire point of why he's still a character and not using an actor or anything else of that sort. Asset importing. We only imported from one asset box, which is the modular Gothic temple. If that opens real quickly, we can kind of show that. But I saw this, I was like, ooh, cool wintry stuff. Because like I said before, during the first part of this assignment, it was like I was kind of waiting to see if the new stuff came out because it wasn't out yet during the first assignment was due. And you get all these nice, really cool wintry items. The hanging eyes, obviously, I probably overused more than anything, but that's just because they created a really cool fence. And honestly, I'm really happy with how that turned out. Even if at some point I spent quite a while just adjusting a thing on each one of them individually because they were not a class at the time. Alright, asset importing done. Blueprint actor. Create a blueprint to save and reuse an actor. Yeah, I guess the easiest example of that is these walls. They are reused everywhere. They do have a couple things that are just open source. Let me see if I can scroll down far enough to find it. It should be like wall difficulty or something of that sort. Details. That's probably good to go with the details. If you scroll down, these are all the same actor. All these walls and all these shooters are the same actors. To difficulty. This goes off an array. We will look at that more closely in a second. But you can kind of just adjust the difficulty. It's like a 1 through 10 scale, I'm pretty sure. The boss has their own different variation that's slightly different. Just kind of all the same logic, just it's called boss walls, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, boss wall, just how there's boss icicles. They kind of just run off a slightly different scale. The boss icicles, I'm pretty sure, are actually weaker than normal icicles, and obviously the boss walls are just way thicker and they have more health. We'll go into that more because the way their health and whatnot works is just based off their thickness. Principles of OOP. Well, this is not the best example. These are all kind of function off that because they're just duplicating off each other. But through the ability of being able to like just adjust the true difficulty, they all have that factor to them. It makes it function off of that. Additionally, you can kind of change the random speed of these icicle shooters, and that will function with that too. The health component is also both on you and on the boss. And then, in a slightly different sense, but very similar still, the way that you shoot projectiles, the way that these things shoot projectiles, and the way that the boss shoots projectiles are all very similar, though not the same. And a really big example of that is just how I did the menus. Well, they're not all running off the same thing, they're all running off the same logic. It was a lot easier just to make these all separate objects than try to make an object that if this map, if this map, if this map. So they all just have the same exact code inside, basically. Just event begin play, add to viewport, level starter. I already have so many things open. This is probably going to crash. But yeah, event viewport, same thing. Vector math. We had quite a lot of vector math in this. Multiplication, subtraction. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I might as well open one of the walls at this point just because they have the most. Well, I wouldn't say that actually. If they probably don't have the most, the weapon might have a lot more, honestly. I'll look at that too. But they have a array, which is one of the other things, but we'll get back to that. Um, the more important thing, oh, they also do mesh with the static meshes scale based off the true difficulty level. Just going off that one Y direction. True difficulty is then multiplied by 2, and that will then equal the current health. Kind of setting that based off how difficult the walls is, obviously. Hello, we are recording final. The one that probably has the more complex math to it base in comparison to that will be the weapon, as there's a whole thing down here, and it's actually pulling from the game instance because otherwise you can't really record data in the weapon because it destroys itself as it shoots. So, return game instance, get weapon level, set level, level plus base damage, so it always guaranteed to do a little bit. That's the kill power, level divided by 100 times 1.5, or times 0.5. That gets you to all different scales of the static mesh. Level times 0.3 is the delay, and then if it is destroy actor at the end of that delay. So even if you, like, there was a while where the walls didn't exist, this would destroy the sphere when it had already reached its maximum distance guaranteed, as well as obviously just making it to where it has the maximum distance. This is a lot of stuff over here, but it's basically just cast. If it hits a wall, that deals damage to it. If it hits the boss, it deals damage to it. If it hits the boss's wall specifically, it deals damage, and then it just destroys itself regardless. Just so whenever it begins to overlap with anything, it's guaranteed to destroy itself. And then, of course, the icicles have a similar thing, which is why when they collide, they both end up getting destroyed. I'm trying to think. There's plenty of other vector math, honestly, going on. Obviously, different things will do different things for you. The stairs really just heal you 100 HP whenever you stand on them. Death Plane deals 1,000 damage to you whenever you stand on it, just to guarantee the death a bit more. Health is always nice. This is just the main component that like everyone gets, including the walls. The walls have this. Players have this. Boss wall has this. This has the heal function to it, which I guess at some point I deleted this initially and I had to put it back to like set the health to max if it goes over max. Heal function, take damage function, print health. This is just something I always like to have. I had to go back and delete everything before I do anything else. At least when I know things are working, it's kind of before I have a health bar, I need this to make sure you're taking damage. And I can also use it to see if the other things are taking damage that don't have a health bar. Alright, next thing. Move actor. Create an actor that moves towards another actor. Well, it may not move in the conventional sense. The boss... Woo! Oh gosh, it's opening Visual Studio. We don't need that. So we'll give it a second so I can close this out. But move actor, well, it may not move in a conventional sense, is the boss actor. It does not have any movement speed, but it will, however, rotate towards you so it can shoot you. It is the only other character in the game. I had one way closer to you at the beginning of the map initially just to kind of work for testing. Has a couple other things for event destroyed, event begin play. On pawn seeing, AI move 2, and then it'll do the whole kill player function, which also has some random integer stuff and stuff going on. Just to give it that 1% chance that it'll summon the walls instead of using that, because if it gets branch, if that's true, so if it's greater than 1, 0, so in the sequence sense, it would then shoot the icicles with this random delay before it then would loop back and go through that again, which is why I could shoot like 99 icicles before it ever summons walls, or like it did in our playthrough, summoned walls right away. And then, of course, this is very similar. It just this one has these different defense spheres that are invisible in the game. They are not collidable. The arrow, your character has one as well. They're just for shooting your projectiles. Same with the projectile shooters. and it will just summon a wall at each sphere. Since the spheres themselves are already rotated, you don't have to really worry about rotating these actors at all. Kind of just gets world transformation of the sphere. Delay. The delay on this one's a bit longer for its lag. It's kind of to a maximum of 3 seconds instead of like a maximum of 1 second as it is with this. Though the walls will also block out their own icicles, so more than likely they might help you a little bit with destroying their walls to be able to then hit you again. Variables. We have quite a few going on, obviously, just throughout the different things. Can see player. Level name is a big one that you'll see across. For anything that like this, that when it gets destroyed, it will open level. The level name is this variable just to make it easier for myself because I changed it as I went because I didn't have the win map made right away to throughout most of the level process. Health bar, key opacity. This is something that I had to use to, so whenever you're in game, whenever you press F to shoot, the crystal sphere becomes a bit more transparent. I'll show that off again once you play through at the end of the thing. This one has a ton of things, just because instead of just inputting data, I wanted to be able to come back if I wanted to and just not click there. So difficulty 1 through 9 are all different variables, but difficulty array is its own thing, and then true difficulty is another. True difficulty is the one that you can change in the overworld, just to then pick a different basically number in the array for the wall to be. This one has stuff, this one has stuff. These ones have different things. This is just the menu, so weapon level, experience 3. Actually, this is the game instance, so very important stuff here. Weapon level through a 3 XP max before it resets. But if it gets the 3 XP max, then it actually goes through this branch, resets itself down to 0, but also increases the weapon level. Print string just kind of chilling over there because it's only there for the development process. The monk only has level name. Win level has a decent few, but it's really just mostly play button, quit button, shenaniganery, and event construct, of course, just making sure you don't click when you can't, and that you can click when you need to, especially when you're on the menus. And then for the different level starters, you'll just see this progression of more and more of these widget variables. The boss has a kill power, well, the boss sickle, same with the other icicle. More variables, more variables. I guess I can go to the graph of this, see whatever variables something like this would have, because they all really have the same thing. There's a ton of variables. That's a simple way to put this. Next thing, frame rate independence. Pretty simple thing just to explain. A lot of things are event tick, or just kind of will check every tick. So instead of checking every second, it'll be checking basically every frame to see if it's working, see if it hasn't overlapped, see if anything like that is going on. Can take a lot more memory though. That's the only real issue with it. Collision and trigger events. There are, once again, a decent few because a lot of things have projectiles in this game. Let me just go over to the boss sickle because it does the same thing as the other sickle because it was actually copied off the sickle and then adjusted from there because I wanted to just change. I basically just changed the random float range and that was about it when I copied that over. Additionally, this one can destroy the boss walls. The other one cannot destroy the boss walls, but the boss is never going to be hidden by the other icicles anyway. So collision and triggers events. On a component begin overlap sphere, just kind of the sphere of the icicle. Go over here, has that collision sphere. If it says I put them in a sequence, so first one is if it collides with the third person character, it will then have the third person take damage. And it also has this custom event happen for the main player, which is when hit, which I might as well just show that now. It's kind of just also a physics timeline, so kind of has physics activate. Actually, I'll just go into that a bit more when we get to the physics section of this. Back over to boss, or the boss sickle, and then it goes over to cast a boss wall. The boss wall would take damage, and then destroy active because once again, whenever a thing collides with another thing, we just need it to basically kill itself. And this is just the much bigger begin overlap that I already showed. For your main weapon, whenever it's hitting a boss, hitting a wall, hitting the boss wall, and then of course destroying itself. And then you also have different begin overlaps and hits. Especially with you, if I can just find you real quick. This is kind of an event hit. It's more, it is going off the overlap and it signals to this at the end. To activate your physics, there's a little bit of a timeline here. It lasts half a second. So then after that, it knows to reset itself because you'll be falling for that 0.5 seconds. And then it will have the impulse during that time. And then afterwards, it will turn off set simulation and it will re-rotate you back to an upright position. And then for the sake of on component hit, we have another sequence. Cast a death plane. If you touch the death plane, you take 1,000 damage, you die. If you touch the stairs, you heal. Back to full HP, 100 HP. And then for a duration of 20 seconds, it is unable to be hit again with that same benefit. Obviously, you can still touch and still walk over it, but input action, mainly just for the player has input actions. Obviously, no one else can really input. You have your different clicking buttons on the main menus, of course, which this one doesn't have any because it's just the in-game UI. The other ones are literally copy-paste basically of each other with different rewardings. Restart and quit for the lost menu. Main menu has a play and quit with just showing the title as well. And then win level has you won. And then play again or quit. Once again, the buttons for play again, quit, almost all do the same thing, but for play again will reset your game instance and levels back to 0. Back over to you for a second for more input stuff. So whenever you press F, you will summon your weapon. It will be shot out, as well as you'll set the opacity of the part of the UI on the screen from the in-game UI, the crystal ball, to a factor, just kind of resets down the opacity from like 80% to 40% when pressed. Obviously, when released, it'll go back to normal. There is also an escape button option, which is somewhere here. Probably way towards the bottom. Yeah, it is way towards the bottom. Quit anytime, just so you can quit anytime when you're playing the game. Press escape. You quit. I didn't show that often in the game because I didn't really think about it. But it was there just to also make testing a bit easier, as well as just... There's no pause menu in this game, so it makes it just the easiest way to escape. Spawn and destroy actors. Ooh, boy. So, obviously, you here, when you press F, you spawn your freaking electric sphere. You just find the F section. Boom, bop, spawn weapon actor. Get world transformation. You do that your spawn arrow. The boss has a lot. We already kind of went over that. It has different things. For its bossicles, it will world transformation killing arrow. Summon them and shoot them. And then it has its defense spheres, just summon the boss walls. At this point, I might as well actually just bring up the spawn weapon, or projectile shooter as it's called, which Event Begin Play is constantly running. Luckily, these things destroy themselves when they hit the walls around, because it's an overlap, and similar to the other sickles, they overlap. Random float range, so they'll have a random difference between 1 second to 5 seconds of when they shoot. Random boolean, true or false. And then, boom, they'll get the different things. I see what. Because this is not the one that we used in the game, which we used for the other thing, isn't it? No, it does seem to be. What are you guys called? Projectile shooter final game. That would be what we need to look at. There it is. Alright, because I was looking at the one that I used for a different assignment that I kind of just copied over here. Different float range, I'm about to say 5 seconds seems like a lot. So 1 second to 3 seconds. Spawn actor death sickle, and then it loops back to the beginning, I'm pretty sure. Or just Event Begin Play does that. Gets transformation of the arrow. The rectangle is really just there, just so I knew a general gist of where I was putting this when I was placing it on the map. And of course, as you've seen a lot, whenever they deal damage to each other, they destroy each other if you go down to 0 HP. If objects overlap, they destroy each other. If you touch the death plane, you destroy yourself. Components, use components, reusable blueprint components. Video experience there. Yeah, obviously reusable components are always really good to have. The main one I really ended up using was health. I've kind of disregarded death because I haven't really had them have unique deaths. Or in the sake that this one, where they do have slightly unique deaths, it's just them opening different maps. That you could have done as a death component, and then I guess had that as the component, which you could edit out of the game with the open eye thing, but they already both had that. Health was given to a bunch of stuff. Really good component just to give to everything. And then reusable blueprints in general, once again, the kind of just the copying of the main menu, the different UIs, and really just changing out the photos, and that was about it. Level loaded. When you play the game, obviously, whenever you press play, for the main menu, you load a new level. Going into the main menu level, well, to the main level. From there, if you die, you go to lost level. If you beat the boss, you end up going to the win screen. All that being different loading levels throughout the same thing. Singleton pattern, we have level system for that. It is the one thing that keeps track of data outside of everything else. Additionally, has these two custom events that would open up a win screen and a lose screen, though I believe we ended up opening those through other ways. It was just kind of at a point where things weren't working. It has an event initiate, kind of to set the experience to 3 and weapon level to 1. And then, of course, has all this, and as you saw with a different main menu, it will erase that data and reset it back to where it begins. But overall, this can save a lot of stuff. It's really good for lives and whatnot, but that wasn't utilized in this game. But just anything you need to keep out of it, especially if you have a longer game where you have like an inventory and you need to keep everything there, or even just like how much XP you have when you go to a new level, just to maintain all that data. I remember playing a video game and I came back and whatever power-ups I had weren't there, and I thought that was weird. So I guess whatever singleton exists in that game, it would keep track of your lives, but it would not keep track of what power-ups you have. Custom events. We have quite a few, as mentioned, and as has been seen. Lose screen event, or win screen. You have one. If we can find through this long list of tabs. Well, pressing F is not really a custom event. It is sort of one, but more literally a custom event is if lost game. Do a branch variable. Check your health. If it's 0, it'll load level name, being the lost level. This is so because when you destroy the boss and you open up the win screen, it technically destroys you. And the way that was working out is I needed to have event destroy, then go to a custom event because it would open both. You would see the main menu open up, well, the not main menu. You would see the win menu open up, and then boom, the lost menu would just go right over it because they were kind of interacting with each other in a weird way because you were technically being destroyed, but the other thing was trying to open up the boss, well, open up the win screen, and you should only be opening up the loot screen if you lost for having 0 health, which is what this does. There's a couple other probably custom events throughout this, but they would be fun to find. Functions. There is a ton of different kind of just functions added throughout this. As you can see, all these are technically functions. I know there is one in particular we have added functions. These ones are a good one to show, just kind of the bindings serve that purpose. But more importantly, the menus definitely have just added functions. You have added functions. Not a lot of them are labeled as custom functions, but they're more just like the event begins. These ones are all just boom functions: heal, take damage, print health. User interface. We have, as previously stated, 4 different menus. Well, 4 different screens that will show up. Just kind of put them all in designer mode would be useful. Main menu screen, break a path, player quit. Ooh, that is the game mode, which is going to be important eventually, but UI interface, your little 3 experience points that will change their opacity as they grow, your level, which will increase as it grows, strength level, just a simple text, crystal ball image, which will change in opacity when you press F, your HP, which is on a progress bar, connect to your HP, check the graph for those. because this is a ton of functions as well. This is where the most binding functions happen. So you have the whole get percent here, which is a very simple function. Crystal ball opacity, which goes once again back to player, but it goes to the key opacity function. The base is kind of just to keep everything else at 1. And then these three are all the same thing, but I will just go through one of them especially. The only thing that will change in each of them is this greater than value, because this is XP1, so we need to see if it's greater than 0. We need to see that if the next one's greater than 1, if the next one's greater than 2. And then, of course, when they go back down to 0, they all become less seeable, or less opacity. But it kind of goes into this true-false value where it changes the different colors a little bit, and then returns them over here, kind of changing these values. And then it kind of repeats through until eventually the last thing that's important is this get text, which will get the weapon level and add that to the screen. I don't believe we looked at the lost menu yet, which is once again restart quit. We had looked at it earlier, but not for the sake of this exact thing. You win, play again, quit. Start game, start over. We've already shown the screens for that. Without those, you really can't have a playable game. You kind of need the ability to softly reset and play again. This is a very simple game where you don't have progress to worry about losing, but even just the simple having the ability to escape while you're walking around makes it really good just to leave at any time. Standalone build, we already did that, but we'll do one more playthrough before we end the video at the end of the thing. Filling and creating an array. The two walls have those. So this is the normal wall. We've already kind of looked at this. It makes the array, sets the array, gets different integers out of the array, which is why this is functioning off an integer. Multiplies the integer to do all these different things. And then I'll just go down and show off the boss wall because we really haven't looked at that yet. But it is the same thing overall. Just kind of maximum range 1 through 9 again. Different thickness levels, different current health, kind of going off the difficulty again. And you can see this one just starts at 0.08, whereas the other one starts at 0.025. Well, 0.25. And this one goes to a maximum of 1 for its thickness. And then just to make it way easier than kind of just thinking about, oh, like, so you could have just inputted the values to make the array, and you'd be like, bop, beep, it's all these weird 0 point something numbers, but it's way you just have these variables that point to them. For each loop, it is probably hidden here somewhere, but there may just not be one. Most X variable, probably not used. Randomness, we have quite a bit of randomness. Obviously, you can see on this one, it'll get a random integer. This is for the boss's walls. They actually function off random integers instead of your thing. Well, the normal walls will just be like, oh, I picked the thickness, and they kind of just grow as you go throughout the map. The boss's walls can actually have different health when he summons them. A lot of the different projectiles being shot have different things. So if I find one of the icicles... Weapon. That's your weapon, I'm pretty sure. So this doesn't really have any randomness to it, but we can find the other ones that do. Boom, random float range for projectile shooter. Just adding how often it shoots. Once again, the boss has a ton of randomness to him because A, he has the randomness of what move he'll do, 1% chance to summon the walls, and then random float range for how often he'll shoot things. Projectile shooters otherwise also shoot different things. Let me just pull up one of the icicles just to like prove that point a bit more. Death sickle. Random float range for its kill power. Minimum 10, maximum 20. So basically 10 to 20% of your HP from one hit. Physics. The only thing with applicable physics to it is you in this game, which is kind of having you fall over a little bit whenever you get hit. We can just go down to it. Bob. Begins, simulate capsule physics, timeline of a 0.5 seconds when you go into it, which pretty simple. Go back over to event construct. There was going to be a whole thing where I try to figure out like from where the thing got hit you, but overall it's a lot easier just to have you fall over just a little bit. Capsule component once again, and then reset your physics, turning simulate physics off. and then rotating you back to normal. So this happens whenever you get hit by an icicle or one by the bossicles or even just the normal icicles. Sphere overlap factor. We have a ton kind of mixed in throughout this, as you already saw with the different icicles. They have their sphere overlaps. Your weapon has a sphere overlap in the middle. I just pulled that up real quick. It probably is already pulled up on a tab somewhere, but it's easier just to kind of find it through here. Viewport. For a while, this wasn't working because all the other things had overlaps on them, and of course, with it just being destroyed on any overlap, that would not be fancy. Direct inverse proportions. As you can tell with the walls, they kind of mesh with the proportions a little bit. And then, technically speaking, the boss's proportions are weird, but it's just he's increased, so things around him are a bit more increased than they would be normally. Same with his icicle arrow, just kind of grows a little bit more because he's already a little bit bigger, so it just grows in scale with his transformation. Other nodes, we do have quite a few do once nodes kind of thrown out here. Obviously, a lot of the delays go with the do once and they kind of just then reset themselves. I did not click a good person for that. The boss is the easiest one once again to do that with, because he has those delays that kind of send you back there. Actually, you do technically have a couple because your interactions with, at very least, the healing. Because it's the whole do once, boom over here, goes back over there to reset it after 20 seconds. And then I know there are at least a couple other that do something similar to that extent. I believe the boss could be one, but the boss already has that delay and it just goes back to the sequence. It probably is the icicle shooter. If I can just find the weapon shooter, that might also have another kind of do one situation happening. Projectile final shooter. Nope, just a simple delay loop. We do have quite a bit of sequences as you saw throughout here. We have quite a few branches, as you have seen. Timeline, we had that one timeline on the player character as I was already shown, but I'll just kind of click over there again just to make it more apparent. Blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of code on him. Not as much code on this one as there was on the previous game's character, but timeline. And then, just to finish this out, we will play through the game again. I will have to load it up like twice because I'm going to also just show the escape function quite a few times from quite a few different menus. And I guess I can at least point out a couple things that weren't shown before. Since it's opening on a different screen, it's going to take a while. Then we're going to press quit on the main menu. Then it's going to load a while again to pull up. Then we're going to escape from the normal game. And then we're going to do a different thing again. Then, of course, we'll also just give it one last good playthrough. Maximize the screen, even though it is still loading. Maybe we'll have to finish loading before I can maximize that screen. Perhaps running OBS. Because we did not begin on the right menu. But I did just press escape from there, so technically that showed that. But if I open level to main menu map, brings us over here. We can press play again. I'm just going to give it one good playthrough. Once it's all ready and loaded. It is now loading. Boom. Bop. I'm not going to bother pressing quit right now, but as you can see, it's very much applicable. Actually, I'll just press it. Why not? Boom. You can see that obviously will close out the menu. The same code is repeated for all three menus, so all three of those work the same. All three of those plays work the same, just different wordings, restart, play again. And I already showed the quit, just out of the normal game because we opened it from the wrong level. Christmas Final is loading. Maximized. Press play. Break a path. Boop. It is loading. Probably getting all the textures ready because there's quite a few textures. Boom, bop. As you can see, whenever you shoot your sphere, the thing becomes a little bit more opaque. I guess if you just hold it down, because it's whenever you stop pressing it, it comes back normal. As you can see there, boom, you get hit, you fall over a little bit. The walls have more health. This one took 2 hits to get through, whereas the other one took 1. Obviously, we're still at strength level 1, now we're strength level 2. That took 3 hits. And so that ratio will become less and less as you kind of just go throughout the map. Oh, we fell off, which is actually pretty good because it shows us this. Press restart, we keep our levels because it's all in the game instance. So technically you can grind your way for a while. Maximum level on the spheres is level 12 before they stop. At that point they start interacting with you, and that's not what's necessary because they'll be hitting you instead. So it's at the point where they don't kill themselves by hitting you. All these different icicles. You could technically just like sit here for a while, shoot icicles, not only to break the walls way ahead of you, but if you do that too much, then you're dealing with the boss at really long range. And he does have very far sight. He is unable to destroy these walls, so he might be seeing you already before you even get here. And of course, your spheres can destroy his icicles, but they also aren't that strong of icicles, because he's a lot weaker than just the normal projectiles throughout the map. We're going to run away and try to heal again, and try not to hopefully get hit by all these other icicles. I think it's been about 20 seconds, so boom, we were able to go back, use the healing stairs again. Kind of a hidden mechanic of sorts, just because you had to pay attention enough. Oh, while we were gone, he summoned walls, which is a 1% chance. Once again, trying to kill us, we are at level 5. Pretty decent chance. Just boom, bop, we beat him. Play again, just to show the thing resets again. And then we'll quit out by just kind of jumping over the edge. We could just quit out with the escape normally. Ooh, that was a nice fun roll. Whee! And boop, right as you get to the mountains. The plane is just very well set. It's not that you're interacting with the mountain, it's just the death plane is fantastic. Alright, well thank you for watching this very long video if you made it to the end. Thank you. And I hope you have a good day.